Hello everyone, welcome back to the FastAPI series. In this video, we will learn how FastAPI handles request bodies using pydantic models. We will cover the topics such as how we can create a simple request models, multiple request bodies, how we can do the field validation inside a pydantic request body. We'll see how the nested model works, and also we will look into some schema examples. And we will try to test it using the Swagger UI, which is a inbuilt UI in the Fast API. So I'll try my level best that by the end of this video, you will fully understand how the Fast API validates incoming data automatically. So let's first start and we'll try to create a simple basic request. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to first import the libraries, Fast API library. So I've created this file, simple request model, and I have imported the value. Now in the next step, what I'm going to do, I'm going to create a class employee. And you can see here, it has created a class employee, which is which is taking this base model as its parent class. So which is base model is coming from the pydantic. So after creating this class, next step is going to be we are going to create the fast API object. So as usual, we are going to create the fast API object. Let me And after creating this, we are going to create a method to update the employee. So everything remains the same, but here we are creating a kind of an employee class, which contain a kind of a request body, which is coming from the pydantic, which is inheriting from the pydantic. So, and here you can see whatever variables which we have defined inside this employee, they all have a data type. So if you try to give any kind of different data type, it's going to give us a validation error. And here in in here, you can see we have provided a path parameter. Employees is employee ID. Employee ID is also being passed as a path parameter. And also we have provided a query parameter. But query parameter here is a kind of an optional parameter. So what will happen is like when you pass this model as a parameter to our endpoint, so Fast API is going to read the JSON body and it's going to validate the data type which is being provided inside it. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to run this command. So let me see how we can run this one. So this is a simple request model, the same command we are going to run and we are going to enter. So now we can see we have got this URL. So you can see server starts at this particular value and where documentation is at this particular URL. So I'm going to click this documentation URL. So you can see here we have got this Swagger UI. Now I'm going to click here and you can see I will click on try it meet out. So here you can see employee ID is a kind of a mandatory required field which is coming from the path parameter. You can see here it is coming as the from the path parameter here, post it here. So now I'm going to put the employee ID as let's say 9786, and query string is kind of a optional, so you can keep it or you cannot keep it. Now the here which is the important point is like whatever variables which we have defined inside this class of employee, so that is a part of the request. Okay, and you can see here it has the validation also that you have to provide this name as in the form of string and designation and salary and this one. Okay, and the department. And since it's being inherited from the base model, so it's going to validate the data if you provide any wrong data type. So now what I'm going to do, so we are going to provide the details. Like let's say name is equal to Saurav, designation is equal to let's say data scientist, and salary, let's put it as a 50,000, and department should be IT. And when I'm going to execute this, see, we got 200 response error here. Okay, we are getting the 200 successful response here. So this is how this was a simple request model. Okay, so what happened here is like so in the employee ID here, if you look at the code, the employee ID is coming from the path parameter, and the employee details, this employee details, you can see it's coming from the request body, and request, this is the request body. Okay, the request body, and the queue is here is the optional query parameter. So what happens here is that the fast API automatically separates all of this for us, and we can create the request body, and we can define the attributes or the variables inside it, and we can and by inheriting to the base model, which is coming from the pydantic, we can it can do the data validation automatically. So now the next thing what we are going to look into is like let me stop this one. Yeah. And now the next thing which we are going to look into is the multiple parameter. Okay. So, so in the multiple parameters, what happens is like the Fast API also provides a kind of a facility where we can provide multiple request body in a single endpoint. So I will show you with the code. So I'm going to let me first save this code. Which is being saved, Control S, previous code. And now I'm going to look into this one. So first, what I'm going to do, I'm going to import the values. Yes, I think there is some error. I'm going to import the libraries accordingly. Then I'm going to create a fast API object. You can see I've created the fast API object. And here I'm going to create one request body, which is employee. And then I'm going to create one more, which is employer. So I have created I'm trying to create two request bodies here. Okay, multiple. And What's happening here is like we have an employee object and we have an employer object. Okay, and then I'm going to create a method here. This method is going to So I'm going to create this particular method, which is update employees. So it's getting the employee ID, which is a path parameter. Then we have the employee, which is coming from this request model. And then we have the employer, which is coming from this particular model. Okay. And one of the most important thing here is like you have seen there is a parameter called as importance sphere. So this important field uses validation. So like it ensures that the value must be greater than zero. You see here, it is ensuring that the values must be greater than zero. So Fast API automatically validates all request bodies and return error in case the validation fails. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to um, run this particular code for you. Let me first clear it and enter. So we got this one. Now I'm going to click on this one. So you can see when I click on here, so you can see we have got let me click on try it out. So here we have the employee ID, which is coming from path parameter. This is the same code. It's a mandatory field. I will just put some employee ID. Then you can see here the request body contains also the employee as well as the employer. So we can have multiple request bodies inside it. We can create multiple objects, which can, so you see here, we have the employer, we have the employees also. So this way, what happens is like Fast API, we can have multiple request body inside a single endpoint. So we have employee and employer. So now we can just, let's say if everything is here, and just we click on the execute. So you can see here, we have got the 200 request body. Okay, 200 response. So it's very much important that if we have certain business requirement where we are supposed to create multiple objects, so then we can create multiple classes, and those all can point to a single endpoint. So this was about how we can create a request model with multiple parameters. Now, the next thing is which we are going to talk about is something called as request model fields. So, which means like if we want to create a kind of a field level validation, then how we can do that? Like if we want to have a validation for just one field, and we want to see that whether we can keep others as it is, but only but few fields which we want, but not all the fields we want. Okay, so how we can do the field level validations? So what we are going to do? I'm going to import the libraries and then I'm going to create the fast API object. It's a very simple code. Uh, the same things which we have been doing previously. Then I'm going to create a simple class employee. Now, what I'm going to do here is You can see. So in this code, what I'm doing here is like I have provided the name, which is a string. In the designation, I have provided, you can see I have provided the field here. Here, what I have specified that the designation value, okay, it should not be more than 100. Now, and the similar way, the salary should not be more, should be minimum, should be always greater than this 10,000. It should not be less than this 10,000. So this way, we have provided a field level validation. How we have done that? We have done that by using this field value, which is a part from the parentic. So with the help of the parentic, we can create a field level validation. You just need to call this particular field thing, and you have to specify what you want. If you want to put a kind of a default value, you can do that. You can provide a title also, and you can provide a kind of a validation. What should be the maximum length, or what should be the maximum value greater than GT stands for greater than. So this way you can do the validation. So let me now put the method to call this one. So so this is the method which I'm going to put. So we are doing the same thing. Like we have provided an employee ID, which is the path parameter, and here we have created this employee, and it's going to call this employee object request body. So here also we have provided embed is equal to true, so that to specify that the to allow the validations. Now next what we are going to do, we are going to run this particular code. Let me clear this one and request model fields, enter. So again we are going to click on this docs, and we got this one. And if we click on this one, so you can see here, I will click on this try it out similar way. So here I will provide 5436, some value. Name is this kind of a string. You can see here by salary is by default 1001, which means that it should be greater than, we have specified here, right, at the field level, that it should be greater than this 10,000. Now, let's say if I try to put it like something like 999, okay, and let's say I put this as IT and designation as mm, data steward, and name should be as a Saurav. Now, when I try to execute, it's going to give me an error. See here, it's giving me an error that input should be greater than 10,000. So that's what the validation is happening here as per our code. Now, if I put something around 10,000, so it's going to work. I think it's not going to work because it should be greater than that one. So if I put something like this, it's going to work. You see here, now we have the 200 response. Now, if I try to put something here, like we have one more validation here at the designation level, so it should be maximum length 100. It should not exceed that. So let's say if I put something like some random values like this, which should be over 100, above 100. Let's say we put, I don't know how much it is. Okay, now I try to execute this one. So I think it should be give us an error that string should have be at least 100 characters. So this should not allowed. So we have seen that okay, we can do a field level validation also at the for whether it's a string, whether it's an integer, irrespective of the data type, we can do a kind of a field level validation also. Now the next thing is let me to let me stop this one, clear this. Now in the next we are going to talk about the how we can create a nested request models. So let me put it down. And so in the when we talk about the real world APIs, so the data is always often nested. It's not going to be very straightforward. So I will show you that how we can create a kind of a nested request body. So now I'm going to import the files, enter. Now I'm going to create the request body of class employee. Then I'm going to create one more class, which is employer. So here you can see in the employer, the employee, this particular is being called. Okay, so the employer contains the employee. You can see here this employee is coming from this particular employee. So what we are doing here is like the employee can contain a team of members. Okay, it's like this, a kind of a contains a list of team members. Okay, so let me show you how we can do that. How I'm going to call this method. Now here what's happening here is like in the employer we have the company name, we have the total employees, we have the employee. Okay, so now I'm going to save it. So now I'm going to show you how to run this particular code. Now enter. Okay, so we have not defined the app. Fast API object is not being defined. So that's why we are getting the error. We have to define this. And let me clear the error. Now enter. So I'm going to click on this one. Then we are going to try this one out. So we are calling here the, let's say we can give 3043. Okay, something like this. So here you can see we have this from the, we have the name, designation, salary, department, and team members. Okay, so and this class employer is also here, but here we are calling this only the employee. So we are getting the all the things from here. Okay, if we I would say if you can try to call this employer, if you try to call the employer, then it's going to contain all the details of this particular object also. Okay, so let's do one thing. Let's do Control C, and let's try to put this code as employer, employer, and instead of employee, I'm going to call the employer. Okay, and here also I'm going to call employer. Okay, Control save. Now you will see clear. Now I'm going to run this one. Now I'm going to click on this one. So now we will see right out. Okay, so now you can see, because since we are calling the employer, so it will contain company name, total employees, and all the details of the employee. You can see here it's a kind of a nested format. So here we can have the company name, let's say Google, total number of employees, let's say 20,000. Okay, name of the employee is, let's say, Saurav. Then we have the designation as a data data scientist. Salary, let's say, keep it as 50,000, and department should be IT, and team members I can, because we have to see the team members here are in the form of a list string. So I'm going to put it some kind of thing like this. Let's say Alisa, Alice, then comma, then Vishal, comma, then we can put some name like Abhishek, and then we can click on the execute. So okay, we have to provide the employee ID. So employee ID should be 3043. And then I'm going to execute this one. So after executing, you can see here we are getting the request response body. So since we are calling the employer is going to get all the details, and as well as employee is being called inside this employer. So we are going to get the details of this one. So this way we can create a kind of a nested request models. So when this is usually done when we have a kind of a complex JSON. So instead of writing the extra code, we can find out the relationship between the different fields, and we can create a kind of a nested bodies. So now the next thing is, let me save this code. Okay, Control C. I have a habit of doing this Control C here in the terminal. So now the next thing is about the schema data. So in the schema data, what we are going to do, we are going to see how the fast API automatically generates API documentation, but we can improve it by adding some example data. Like if you want to provide in your request body that you have certain examples, so it is going to give you a better idea about the uh, uh, about the schema, what's going on. So I will show you with an example. So first, what we are going to do, we are going to import the values. Okay. Now after importing, then we have the fast API. I'm going to initialize the fast API object. Then simple way, we are going to create a class employee. So the class employee is something like this. So here, what I have done, we have created the name, designation, salary, department, everything here. And I have provided a kind of an example using model config. So with the help of the model config and JSON schema extra, you can provide the examples. Like let's say I provide the examples like name should be Saurabh, designation, founder, salary, like this way. And now I'm going to call this method. So we'll see how does it works, how it is going to work. So similar way, I'm going to create a simple method to update the employee. So passing this employee ID as a path parameter. And here I'm passing the employee request body. Now let me save this. Let me run this particular code. Schema data. Enter. And now we have the documentation. It's already opened. Now I'm going to click on the try it out. So here you can see, since we have already provided the example, that name and designation, these values will come automatically as an example. So let's say if I can put it like 3043, department, I will keep it as, let's say I want to make it as IT. IT designation should be data scientist. Name should be, let's say name should, we shall make it as Peter, and salary I should make it as 50,000. 50,000. Then I'm going to click on the execute. So input should be valid dictionary or object with an extra fields. Okay, so what is the error which we are doing here is we have provided details, management, salary should be 10,000. Okay. Mm, mm, mm. We have this name, designation. Okay, I think this is the problem because this is the designation as a retail. Salary is 50,000. What is the field is missing? Here is model attribute type body. In input should be a valid dictionary or object to extract fields from. Input should be like this. Okay, now let me execute this. Let me put this like this. Need to let me try to execute this one. 3043. Then we'll see that what is the error in this one. Well, it should be a valid dictionary or object to extract fields from. Mhm. Request body is department. Name, designation, salary, department, name, designation, salary, department. Yeah, with the schema which is being defined. So now we have it's been done in the correct way. So you can see here JSON schema extra. We have defined it, and I'm going to show you that this is the code. Now when I try, I change the name to Saurav to Peter. And if I execute it, it's going to give us a response. So this way, we can work on the we can define the schema data, we can give the examples, and the thing is here is like this helps us the like if you're developing any backend, so it helps the front end people to understand what exactly the data can be transferred, what exactly data which needs to be sent. So yeah, so this was one of the example. Now let me I can show you. Yeah, so it's I think it's doing taking some time to run. Let me stop. Control C. Let me run this again for you. This is the screen. Click on this one, and then we can see here. Let me click on try it out. We have the employee. Let me put some employee ID. You can see here by default the values are there, which is being present inside our request body. Now when I click on the execute, so it's going to give me a correct values. Let's say if I change this to data scientist and let's click on the execute, so it's going to give me the same output. So this is how we can define the schema, and just as an example for the front end people to understand like what exactly data which we want to send. So now the next thing is like uh, uh, we can talk about the field arguments. So here what we are talking about is like instead of defining examples for the entire model, we can define examples per field instead of going for the entire model. So I will show you how we can do that. So let me first import the libraries. Then I'm going to create the fast API object. Create the fast API object. Then what we are going to do, we are going to have this class employee. So everything will remain the same. So here, like what we can do, instead of giving the examples for each and every field, we can just do it like this. We can call the field body. We can just use the examples and we can give the examples like this way. So it's another way of giving the field level examples by using the field method. Now I'm going to call this particular method and let me try to run this particular code. Enter. Now we click on this one. So here you can see we have the employee ID. So you can click on the try it out. We have the employee ID. Let me put some values in the employee ID. So by default, the values are coming which we have defined here. And then we can change this as well. Let me first execute this one with the default values. You can see here the 200 code is coming because since we are not returning any results. So let me control C. Let me put return results here. Return results. And let me run this particular code again. So application startup completed. Application is running. Let me click on this part and go to the try it out. Employee ID 9786. And then I'm going to execute this particular thing. You can see here we are getting the response. Now, if you want to change this to, let's say, investor, and you want to change this to Steve, and then you can click on the execute. So you can see we are getting the results. So this way we can provide the field level examples also. Now let me stop the terminal, clear this. And now in the next example, we are going to look into some more examples. So another way to define examples is directly in the endpoint using the body. So first what we are going to do, we are going to import the libraries. So you can see here I've imported the libraries. Next, I'm going to create the FastAPI object. FastAPI object. After that, I created a simple request body of employee. I created the request body of employee. I've defined the values inside it. Then what I'm going to do, I'm going to define the method And inside this particular method, I'm going to uh, I'm going to define the body where I'm going to define the examples which I want for all of them. So this is also one of the ways in uh, which you can define the examples of the request body. So this approach is useful when you want endpoint specific examples or you want multiple request body examples. So then in that case, this type of methods are very useful. So Swagger UI will automatically display these examples. So now I'm going to save this and I'm going to run this for you. Enter. So by default, you will see these particular values are going to be shown. I am going to click on this one, try it out. So by default, values are coming. I'm going to click on X. Okay, I have not provided the employee ID. I'm going to provide the employee ID. Execute. You can see here the values are coming. If I want to change something, like let's say if I want to change the salary to 50,000, I can do that also. The request will be the same 200. So yeah, so this was all about the fast API. Uh, Let me stop this one. We'll see here. And if you have any questions regarding this topic, please feel free to write down in the comments. And please do like, share, and subscribe my channel. Thanks a lot.